Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Sessions with Kat. We're back with another how-to video, right? And I need to cleanse this deck. I haven't touched it as often as I would like to. And, you know, we need to kind of cleanse the space, cleanse the deck, cleanse everything. God damn it, shit. I send it to y'all, right? Like, share, subscribe, comment, right? Updates before we get into this how-to with this lovely little deck. November newsletter went out. I changed some shit up. It won't always be like that, but I don't know. I just felt like shaking shit up because that's just the kind of person I am. Ruffle little feathers, hopefully in a good way, right? If you tried the recipe that I put in there, let me know how you like it, because I use it like quite often and I love it, especially in my chai. Okay. Second, y'all, the podcast comes out today. Oh, I'm excited. I'm going to be posting kind of 2 episodes. The first one is going to be the intro. The second one is the actual discussion. So I'm trying to keep those 2 things separate so that I have like an intro recording and then begin the episodes, right? Starting with episode number 2 being the discussions. So be on the lookout, and I will post an email when it's out so that, you know, the people who are subscribed to my newsletter get to hear it first, and then everybody else gets to hear it, and I'm excited. I'm thoroughly excited. So that's it. That's the only updates, right? That being said, let's get into this how-to video. At first I was like, why the hell am I going through this deck? I've had it for like a few years now. Shit, I don't know when this fucking day. 2018 is when it came out, so I've had it for a while. And it retails at $27.99 right there. And if you're ever wondering, like, if it doesn't show the price here, it's usually here. That 5 is not it, it's the $27.99. I'm sure that's not what I paid for it. Okay? But that's what it retails for. At first I was like, Spirit, why am I going through this? And my ancestors stepped in. They were like, because you whole ass need to teach people some things. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to teach people how to use your cards, certain types of cards, to achieve certain types of things. And in this case, I'm going to show you how to use a sort of a botanical herbal kind of deck to achieve an outcome, okay, when you don't have the actual herb on hand. Okay, so this is something that I use for myself, for energy healing, especially remotely. But if in person, if I don't always have herbs on hand, so I will use herbal cards if need be, right? Depends on the person, depends on why they're coming to me and what they need. So I don't always use a herbal set, but when I need to, this deck and the herbal tarot, I think that's the name of it. I can't see the name from where I'm sitting. I use both of those because lots of herbs in it, and I can bring in the essence of it. So I'm going to show you, well, not really show you because I don't really have a client in front of me, but I'm going to kind of give you an idea of how to use the cards in your favor, especially if you're someone that's into doing things a bit more natural, or you want to study herbalism and know kind of how to use it and in your practice or in your journey or whatever. I think decks like this could help you, and this little how-to session could help as well. So I am gonna go through the cards, but I'm gonna kind of talk you through it so you guys can see it. I don't know how to pronounce her name, and I'm not about to destroy it because I'm not about that life. I don't like people destroying my name, so I will not destroy theirs. I don't know how to pronounce her first name. Her last name is Thompson. But this is the Hedgewitch Botanical Oracle. Now this lovely lady makes a number of decks out there, and I have her tarot, her Lenormand, which if you guys want me to go through Lenormand decks and like how to use them, I can totally do that. Just let me know. Lenormand decks and playing cards, they're kind of similar, kind of not. So if you want me to go through it, let me know. Otherwise I won't even touch it, because some people just ain't about Lenormand or reading playing cards. I get it. But she has a number of tarot, mostly tarot, Lenormand, and then this oracle deck that I know of. I think there's another one coming out, which I'm always excited to see her work, because I love like watercolor kind of thing. So I'm always excited. So this is the deck we're going through. I done took everything out of the box because I don't need the box, right? To show you guys how to do this. So I'm gonna set that aside. If you do get this deck, understand that if you use this book, they are in order, not by the keyword on the card, but by the actual like plant, if that makes sense. And let me explain. So this is like blackberry, right? It's in order by this, not this. Okay? So if you go looking in the book, you better be looking by that plant name, not by the keyword. Okay? Just want to put that out there. Now, this book is helpful before I get into the cards. This book is very helpful if you're a newbie and you want to learn more things about herbs, right? And it's general, but it can go a little deeper, okay? Depending on the plant or herb that's in there, right? Let's just call them all plants so I don't confuse the shit out of anybody. She does put like recipes with some of the herbs. I found one for like this little cocktail or whatever in there, and I made it. It was pretty fucking good. It's in color, right? It's in color. So she gives you like some background on the plant itself and kind of what its uses for, and then she gives you the keyword. Now, depending on you, if you need the book, make sure you read it carefully. Also, make sure you have something like a encyclopedia of herbs or whatnot. Here's why: because you need to know which parts of the herbs you can use if you're going to use the physical herb. Okay? This video is if you're not going to use the physical herb. But if you do plan on using the physical herb or plant, see, look, I'm confusing myself. The actual plant, you need something to tell you what parts of the plant you can use and how. Okay? Do not just go willy-nilly and take a whole fucking plant and try to make a tea out of it. You'll fucking get sick if you don't know what you're doing, okay? There are people who are trained. You can go to them and they'll be able to tell you. Most people who are trained in herbalism do have books on hand, okay? Because you can't cram all of that into your noggin and then expect to just recite it. Don't ever expect somebody to do that. So if you're going to use the physical herb that's in here to like make some of the things, like if she gave you like a recipe or something, there's the one. I think this is under borage. I made this. It was good. Just make sure you know what parts you can use and what parts you can't. Okay, if you're going to use the physical herb, right? So that's the book. It is in color. Love it. Right? Everything about it. So that's the book. We're not using that right now. So here are the cards. So I'm going to walk you through kind of like how I use them in teas, energy healing sessions, hell, even when I'm doing readings, right? Sometimes I have to whip this out because it'll tell me how to what type of salve to apply to the problem, right? If there's like a wound, whether it be emotional, mental, whatever, you can use the cards to kind of help you with that. Now, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see it, even though I can barely see my monitor from where I'm at. There we go. That's kind of what I'm going to walk through, okay? So, if you have questions, put them in the comments, email me, send me a message on Instagram. If you got my phone number, text me. I don't care. I'll reply, right? Just let me know if you have questions. All right. Let's get into it. Now, how I use the cards to make teas. Okay. I don't always have a certain herb on or plant on hand to make a tea, right? There are certain ones that I do keep on, like in my pantry, and there are certain ones that are just hard to get or will take too long to get for what I need it for, right? And most of the time, if I'm making a tea, it is because I'm doing some type of like ritual cleanse for myself and or a client. Okay, what you do. All right, let's take this one for instance, because this is a good one. Say this is calendula, okay? Say you don't have this on hand, but you want to use, like, bring in the essence of what this plant, you know, can do for the spirit. So what you do is, when you're making your tea, now this is my coffee cup for today, okay? But I'm going to show you, and it's almost gone, okay? You'll take the card, and before you put anything in your cup, so let's pretend my cup is empty, okay? Before you put anything in your cup, you'll set your cup on top of whatever cards that you need to draw into the tea, okay? And then you pull it in, right? And by pulling in, I mean you kind of just call on the essence of that plant to bring its healing properties, whatever may be needed for that person, into the tea. You can do that as you're pouring the hot water in over the other herbs or whatever that you may have in here, or just pray over it, and then that way the essence is inside the cup. And then as you mix, you're mixing in that essence, okay? That's how I do it for teas. Plain and simple, okay? You should be visualizing, sensing, and just kind of like becoming that herb or plant as you're pulling it in. I know that might be difficult for some people, but that's one of the reasons why you have the card, because now you have a visual of it, okay? And in your mind's eye, you should be able to feel that throughout your body and move that energy through your hands into the cup, through your hand chakras, right? Into the cup. You can also do this while the water is boiling, right? If you're using a pot, just kind of don't put your hand over the pot. Don't get burnt, okay? Let's use some common fucking sense, right? But hold the handle of the pot, right? Hold the handle and just allow that energy to move into your the water as it's boiling, okay? If you're using a tea kettle, you can hold the handle of it. Or as you're filling the pot or kettle with water, you're visualizing, sensing, and becoming that plant moving into that water as you're filling up that vessel. Hope that made sense. So that is a way to do that. Okay. I'm trying to keep this shit in order. It needs to stay in order, truthfully, but because I use it so much and I be shuffling it, trying to figure out what's what, it'd be all out of order. So that is how I use it for teas, ritual baths, because it's kind of the same thing as the water's filling the tub and you're adding other herbs. Visualize that plant or herb going into the water. Same difference. That's how I use it for teas, ritual baths. I'm trying to think anything that involves water. That's what I kind of use it for. Now, I also use this if I want to kind of promote a certain energy in a room. Now, okay, let's use this one because I like the colors. Say I want this clover feeling, right? And or the nurture. Let's say I'm looking at the keyword, not necessarily the plant, but the keyword, okay? But the plant itself can provide that. So I will take this card and then place it in whichever room I feel needs more of that energy, more of that vibe. And I will ask my guides to promote that. And then I will leave that card there until they tell me to move it. That's exactly how I do it. So 9 times out of 10, this is gonna be in my like living room, family room, if that's what you call it. This is gonna be in my living room, okay? Because I will keep actual clover in like my bedroom or office. So 9 times out of 10, this is gonna go in the living room. But that's what you do if you want to brighten a space or like heal a space. If you don't have the actual plant, use this, okay? So that's what I use to heal a space. This is also if someone has me do like a house cleansing remotely, which I can do, okay? I will pull whatever spirit tells me to pull to send that energy into that person's home, if that makes sense. So it's part of that, but I also use that plant to heal the person because it might be what they need as well, not just their space. Hopefully that made sense. So I took care of like water cleanses, healing the space. Now let's talk energy healing. Okay. It's iffy. Depends on the person. It really does. It really does depend on the person. However, you can use, like if the person in front of me, I'm just trying to make up a scenario of, say they're kind of healing from a round of cancer, right? So we're going to use this card here. Say they're healing from a round of cancer. And let's say it was breast cancer, okay? I would pull this, and while they're on the table, or like if they're in front of me, if they're on the table or on the floor, depending on where spirit wants them to lay, 9 times out of 10, I will put a person on the floor to get the vibrations of the earth. But if spirit wants them on the table, that's fine too. But I would put this near their sacral. Okay. Most of y'all probably over there like, yeah, you put it up near the breast. No. Yep. Put it near the sacral because I need to heal the emotional part of the cancer. Like I need to tackle the emotional part of it because think of a color wheel, right? And how the colors kind of cross, right? So if you dye your hair and it comes out, well, if you bleach your hair, okay, like this, just follow me, just hear me out. If you bleach your hair and it becomes yellow, what color would you put on it? Like what kind of, what color shampoo or conditioner would you use to tone that? So you have to think the opposite of the color wheel. So what would be your opposite? You have blue and purple to choose from, right? So I would do that because we want to heal the roots of it first. We don't want to just start with the obvious problem, where it's been sitting. We want to get to the roots of it. So I would go to the sacral or solar plexus because one of those two things had to be highly off for it to fully take place and to heal the spirit and to, and the soul. So I would put that there. Okay. You might be geared to put it wherever you feel, right? This is just where I would put it. Okay. But you have to think, what part of the person needs the most healing. So that's how I use that. So I would put this at their sacral. Okay. Now, sometimes spirit go, you need to move that. And I'll move it to wherever they tell me to move it. Right? Because that part of them got what it needed. Right? Now let's say I'm dealing with a person who has some severe depression, borderline S word, and I don't want to use the whole word there. We'll start with that card. Actually, we'll use all three of those, right? Now, in all of this, it's the key word that's stuck out to me when I gave that scenario, okay? So essentially what I would do, because usually when the person is on the cusp of the S word, something has gone terribly wrong in their power center, where your chi, right, or she lives, right? That's in your solar plexus, and usually something is just terribly off. It's ripped, it's torn, it's leaking, it might have been eaten. I've seen a lot, okay? It just depends on the person. I would go and I would put these two at the solar plexus, okay? And rebuild that solar plexus, right? I allow their guides to come in, and working with my guides, their animal friends and whatever, we would be rebuilding that solar plexus, because we gotta get it active, right? So you have will to live, you have that power center there, and it's still going, right? I would put those two there, okay? Then I would put this at the root, right? Because fear sits in your root and sacral mostly, okay? But because that person is on the border of that, I need to remove that fear and put some security back into their being, their well-being, and that would be in the root. So that's where I would put that, okay? So say you are not feeling well. Say you got a headache, right? And that happens. That does happen. Say you got a headache and you don't want to take any ibuprofen or the naproxen or Tylenol. I'm gonna just call it what it is, because half the time I can't pronounce the actual name for it, the set of whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You would go through whichever herbal deck you have, and I would combine it with a crystal. Okay, and I'll explain the crystals here in a second, but I would find whatever herb I need if I don't have it on hand, and then get a crystal. The crystal I would use would either be fluorite, amethyst, or clear quartz. Okay, the clear quartz is gonna amplify whatever you put it next to. Okay, amethyst would do the same thing, but it will also soothe. Fluorite, like especially if your headache's dead center, will cleanse the third eye, so it'll remove whatever buildup is there as well. So I would use it that way. And I would just kind of meditate with it. Even if that meditation is simply laying down or just putting shit directly on my forehead or sitting on top of my head so that it kind of permeates the whole body, that's what I would do. Okay. And then once I'm at a point where I'm feeling better, I carry the crystal with me, but I put the card back in the deck, right? Because now the crystal has its job to do. So you kind of like combat it throughout the day, right? Now, if at some point you feel like you do need to take something for it, then go ahead and take something for it. If you are out and about and you happen to find the tea that has the herb you need, it get the damn tea. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's up to you, your choice. But this is for those who want to do things a little bit more naturally. Now, understand it takes a little bit longer when you're doing things a bit more naturally, because natural, when you're doing it naturally, it's trying to get to the root of the problem so that you don't have this problem again, if that makes sense, versus band-aiding it, right? Which is what like pain medicine and whatnot would do. That kind of band-aids the problem, but it doesn't solve it, okay? So when you're working with plants, we'll just call it that. When you're working with plants and crystals and things of that nature, it can take a little bit longer than you would like, but it's gonna do the damn job, okay? I'm just gonna put that out here. So this is how I use my decks to how I work with them, right? Because certain decks I don't read people with, right? I just use them to aid like the healing session. They will aid a reading, making ritual baths. Even when I'm doing fire ceremonies and I have to add a certain herb in and say, or plant, and I don't have it, I will whip out the whichever deck has the plant in it that I need and place it around my fire like that, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I do it, okay? And what that does is just kind of like enhances the energy of it all. And I call those in, you know, you guys know I call in a lot of stuff. So that tends to be how that works. So that's that. That's my how-to for this week. It was going to be a different video, but Spirit was like, no ma'am. And I said, all right, I'll roll with it. So here we are. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you do have this deck, or any plant-based deck, tell me how you use it. I'm curious. I'm like very curious. Comment that below as well. And as always, stay hydrated. Make sure you're eating. Make sure you're vibing to whatever music you need to vibe to get through the weekend, right? And I wish you all the brightest of blessings.